Yeah, this is Louis Pugh again, Executive Vice President of OOIDA, and also was a small business carrier and truck driver for 25 years with 2.5 million miles. This is all about highway safety. A lot of this stuff is being addressed, fortunately, now at the federal level, which is a good thing, which is something we needed. English language proficiency is a federal law. It's in the Federal Register and the FMCSRs. It's also in the out of service from CVSA that if you are caught and you cannot speak you proficiently, you are put out of service and they have to find someone who can. Now, I don't know what the test looks like because enforcement doesn't share that with private community, which is probably a good idea because there would be people out there that would try to teach around that. But I do know on roadside they have random sets of questions and signs and stuff like that that the folks are to read to see. This isn't about speaking the King's English or anything like that. This is extreme, like was said, reading roadsides, understanding roadsides. I understand the glasses you're talking about. I have an employee at OOIDA that has those glasses. She said they won't read signs because I asked that when we put this in the back in the out of service was if you wore those kind of glasses, would you be able to read electronic signage? Because that's the one thing we've moved to a lot. I'm sure if anyone here goes over and talks to enforcement across the road there, the Highway Patrol or Captain Kevin Kelly of Missouri DOT, they're going to give you an earful about accidents with folks who can't speak the language and the problems they have. I know there was a fatality in Columbia just last year where somebody couldn't read the signage and ran over a family of 4. So these are real things. And as was said, if there's an accident, God forbid, the trucker needs to be able to communicate with first responders immediately. And again, I mean, no disrespect to you, Representative Smith, but they don't sometimes have the time to talk to a phone, into their phone and get that to somebody, especially when you think about truckers haul everything from toilet paper to bombs and all kinds of nasty stuff in between. I pulled a tanker for a while and I was some very, very, very caustic, nasty stuff that had there been an accident, you have to get people away because of things that go downwind and all that. So with that all being said, I'll take any questions and happy to speak. Thank you.
Representative Smith.
Thank you for that and for the clarity. I'm still thinking about how quickly technology is moving. In fact, in this very house, there is a bill floating around for these self-driving commercial vehicles. And I happen to drive a car that does self-driving. I'm just concerned still that as we try to regulate this, technology is moving faster than we can regulate. So now we'll have to go back and put something on top of what we already have. So let's do this wild thing and imagine that self-driving trucks pass, which we don't really want. And that's the thing about the self-driving technology. I can leave my driveway in St. Louis. My car will drive me to this parking lot, and it will park the car for me that entire time. Then AI glasses, what are they up to step 2 now? What if they get to step 3? What if they get to step 4? Then all of this becomes obsolete because we've got a whole nother issue to handle.
Well, with all due respect, it doesn't become obsolete because I remind you, it's federal regulation. You have to speak English to have a CDL driver's license. That's federal. So the only people it would affect, I guess, would be intrastate truckers in Missouri, maybe. So that's one thing we have to keep in. Secondly, I understand there's autonomous trucks. You're not going to get me to sit here and speak in favor of those, and that's not what this here, because there's things. The thing I will remind you and point out, because I've driven both, there's a huge difference in driving a car and driving a tractor trailer. A huge, magnificent difference. And we need to remember that on autonomous trucks and all kinds of this stuff, because the way trucks handle and react to things is completely different than a car.